Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon to join us. My name is Ben. I'm the head of code enrollments here at the Learning People, and been here for 8 years now. And I love what we do. And right now, we wanted to do a webinar because it's well, we're experiencing an unprecedented demand for our courses, and in particular, our coding courses. And I think there's a few reasons for that right now. I think that number one, I think that learning to code from home is something that can be done quite well, given the proper time and training and a proper course with structure and support. I think also coding is a career choice that is incredibly sustainable. Coding has pretty much always been a 0% unemployment industry. And for that reason, it obviously comes with its perks. Even now, it continues to be just that in the most uncertain of times. So on top of that, I think, well, I don't know any unhappy coders. I don't know any coders that would be unhappy with the career choices available to them, the variation available, flexibility, work from home, be your own boss, travel, whichever however you choose to live your life. And a career of a coder can work around that. Also don't know any coders that are unhappy with earning potential. So for lots of reasons, I think now we're seeing lots of demand and lots of interest in our coding courses. So it seems like now's a good time to do a webinar, hopefully with the aim of informing you guys. Now, all of you are at various stages in your journey with us already. Some of you have never spoken to us before. So hopefully this will be very informative. And some of you have spoken with either myself or with one of our consultants already, and you know a little bit about it. So what we're going to do in this webinar is take a moment to, in just a moment, I'm going to take a moment to talk through some slides that I think you'll find interesting to provide a little bit of context to the situation. After that, my colleague Mike Appleby would like to talk you through the career services that will run alongside your training should you choose to enroll with us. And I think that's important because that's ultimately the end result, right? You guys want to know you're going to get a job at the end of it and how that works and so on. So he'll take some time to talk you through that. We will be answering questions throughout if there's a lot, but we may just wait until the end, Q&A specifically at the end. But after Mike, we'll take a moment for me to talk you through the course that I would generally recommend to most people and exactly how that works and what you can expect. And then, like I said, at the end, we'll open up for a Q&A just after we run a short video for, it's a video of one of our students, Andrew, who, well, he's going to talk you through a little bit about his experience, which I think is really useful as well. So to jump in, let me share my screen with you guys real quick. So I hope that you can all see my screen there.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
All good? All good. Perfect. So these are some of the things that we're going to be talking through. Coding throughout the pandemic, how's COVID affected the industry? Sustainability, Mike will talk a little bit about that, but I'll talk a little bit about it too and answer any questions around it. The career pathways and what you guys can expect in terms of the specific roles and salaries, what it tends to look like at first at least. The career services, like I said, Mike's going to talk you through, and then at the end, the Q&A. So to jump right in with the first thing I wanted to show you guys is a quote that we saw recently from the Vice President of HR at IBM. Look, when it comes to the tech world, there are fewer bigger names than IBM. And he said that whether candidates learn their trade at coding bootcamp or a community college, if they've got the right skills, there's a job for them at today's IBM. That's a powerful statement to come from somebody who's Vice President of HR at IBM. And I wanted to highlight this only because so often people ask me, should I go to university, college, or these sorts of things? And I'd never advise against any higher education. I think it's all absolutely worthwhile. But it depends on what you're hoping to achieve. The fact of the matter is that with most tech careers, traditional education isn't quite getting it done anymore, which is why schools and organisations like us exist. This is a really interesting slide that I wanted to share with you guys because it speaks to the impact of the pandemic on the tech industry and how the tech industry actually hasn't been hugely affected by the current pandemic. So if I share this with you here, so this is how each profession has been affected in terms of staff being laid off in the short term. In terms of percentages. Right at the top there is information and communication industries. That includes IT and coding. And you can see it's been affected the least of all of those industries. So I thought this would be a really interesting one to share with you guys, simply because you can see out of everything there, it speaks to the fact that a career in coding is, well, it's going to be the safest thing that people can move into if they're looking at a career change. This one is, it's going to basically, the top roles across London, they're technology related with developers in software and engineering at the top of that list. And I think the interesting quote here is that tech jobs in London make up 35% of all vacancies over the period since the shutdown, where this figure would normally be 15%, which means the demand for tech-based role basically doubled. Yeah, I wanted to share that one with you guys as well, and please do, all of your questions, go ahead and put them in the chat there for everybody to see, and we will endeavour to go through all of those towards the end. Now, this is a really interesting slide that was we put it together with our friends over at Stack Overflow, and for any of you guys aren't sure what Stack Overflow is, this is basically the world leading kind of platform for tech-based information, particularly around coding. And right now, there are currently 500,000 more jobs than students available. And as you can see there in orange, that is the number of tech-related graduates year on year, and in grey, tech-related jobs year on year. And as you can see, the gap is widening all the time. It's getting bigger and bigger. And we hope that with courses that I'm going to be talking about today and other similar courses, we can start to close that gap. So that's me for now. I'll hand over to Mike Appleby, who will talk you through our career services in a bit more detail and how that works. So Mike, I'll just stop sharing my screen and I'll make, excuse me, I don't think you need to be the host. Once you start talking, it should bring you up to the top. Are you there, Mike?
I'll unmute myself. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Mike. How's it going?
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Ben.
No trouble.
Yeah, so I've been told 10 minutes, which I'm always at risk of overrunning here. So I know that you can mute me when you need to, Ben. So feel free to.
Yeah, I'm going to cut you off.
Yeah, halfway.
I'm just going to stop right now.
But thanks everybody who's joining us today. I think even just coming onto one of these is kind of a first step in kind of thinking, actually, look, I want to improve my personal situation, whether that's becoming more of a job or whether that's earning more money or whatever it is, but it's a move towards improving your situation. My background is predominantly recruitment, so I've run recruitment businesses, but I'm one of the nice ones, I'd like to say. There is a mixed bag out there for sure, and there might be some recruiters on here, so I hope none are offended if you are. I kind of have watched the industry change massively over the last 10 or 15 years, and unfortunately, I think it's now become an industry that's really built to reject talent. So because we're having to filter so many more applications than we ever used to, the industry has become built to reject, and I'm sure some of you can probably resonate with that. The amount of times I hear people talking, I send 100 applications. Yeah, I don't know which direction to go in. I can't find any support, all this sort of stuff. And you know, my battle and our battle at Learning People has always been to build an environment that nurtures. And where we're lucky, I guess. I mean, there was some planning in it, but we operate obviously within the tech industry, and the tech industry is suffering a massive skills shortage. You know, as Ben's mentioned, there's zero unemployment. There's conversations constantly happening with massive employers talking about. The most recent one that I was involved with was around the amalgamation of skills. So how do we understand what somebody's ability is now, what they're doing now, and how do we move them into the roles of the future? And how do we even know what those future roles are? Because I don't think my job title existed 5 years ago, and in fact I think I made my job title up. But you know, there's even trying to find the job that you want to move into can be difficult sometimes. So we are constantly investing and making steps towards better supporting our students as they transfer from one industry into another, as they try and improve their own personal circumstances in whatever way that is. And the first way that we did that was to build career services. And career services is the best way to describe it is it's the toolkit that enables you to be in charge of your application. So how do we make sure that you're doing everything you can to be noticed as a candidate, and how do we make sure that you are you don't have to rely on a recruitment consultant or an internal recruiter or anybody else to get you the job? It gives you the power back. So it goes through everything around CVs, LinkedIn. So for those of you who aren't on LinkedIn, get on it regardless of whatever move you make. It's a recommendation I'd make. Those of you who are, feel free to connect to me. My name is Mike Appleby. I'm happy to pick up conversations. But it goes through LinkedIn, it goes through how to network, it goes through how to apply for jobs, it goes through how to interview, all of this kind of stuff. And it is a learning process. So we break it down into 3 very clear phases, and you are supported through that. So I've literally just come off of a workshop with 130 students and we were just talking about all of their different circumstances, working through some of the issues that they're facing out there. So it's not just about, okay, how do we give you the tech skills and you know, the high level skills that are needed. It's also massively around how do we help you build confidence. Did somebody say something there? No, okay, just me. Might have been my son calling me or something, who knows. But yeah, it's not just around, you know, it's how to build your confidence when you're applying for jobs, but it's also making sure that you can follow a process. You know, we get very tired of hearing I've applied for 100 jobs and haven't heard anything back, right? If you're applying for 100 jobs and you haven't heard anything back, stop applying. You're doing something wrong. So, you know, we help train you in how to apply for jobs and how to go and get those jobs. The other pieces that we do, so you've got the 3 phases of career services. They apply to absolutely everybody. The students that we work with are a massive range of people, from career starters to people on board level within organisations. So you've got, you know, CEOs who industry has been massively affected by the changes in digital. I mean, you know, take the hospitality industry as an example. At the moment, it's been really, really hard hit. You've got people coming out of it and saying, how do I make a change? How do I move into becoming a coder? And that's where we help. So it doesn't matter really what your situation is or kind of where you're coming from. Another initiative that we launched last year and that we put together was our industry advisory board. So this is a group of people who are just incredible people, but very senior, predominantly within industry. So the chief of people for the MOD, the global head of talent for IBM, you know, people like this are on our advisory board. They help talk to us about what's happening. But within that advisory board, we've also got mental health experts, we've got diversity specialists, and we also bring our students into it so that we get a real kind of overview of exactly what's happening out there. And my role, like I say, is really to continue to build on these initiatives to make sure that our students feel really supported, and that you've got all the tools that you need to go out there and go and get the job you're looking hopefully that covers it for you, Ben. Have I stuck to my?
Yeah. That was like 5 minutes. That was brilliant.
I'm getting good at this.
We're getting quite a few questions coming in as well, guys. So yeah.
Yeah, let's take a moment to answer some questions. Does one of you guys want to read them out for us, for everybody?
Yeah, Jenny, where's Jenny? She's on another screen. There you go.
Hi, sorry, just unmuting myself. So we had a few really good questions actually sent in on the submission form when people registered. So I think we could probably start with those questions, and then if anyone else has got other questions to ask, we've got the chat going, so just open up the chat on Zoom, ask your questions, and hopefully throughout the rest of this webinar we'll either cover your questions or Ben and Mike can pick them up at the end.
Absolutely. We'll answer all the questions. I'll sit here all day if need be, but no questions.
Absolutely. So I think one of the kind of most asked questions actually we had from Piers and from Philip. Basically, can I start coding at any age? We had Piers ask how much more challenging is it to enter the market for a 40-year-old career changer? We also had Philip ask, he said he's just turned 54. Is it too late to start a career in coding? His stepson's actually just landed an amazing role in software development. So, how can he kind of use some of the skills he practiced in coding over 20 years ago? How can he start that career in code now?
I think Mike or I can answer that question, but I mean, I would say that no, in a very short way to answer that question, no, you're not too old to learn to code if you're in your 50s. We have many students in their 50s, some in their 60s, and we occasionally enroll people older than that that are just interested in learning more. So it largely boils down to the skills that you're going to gain. Look, I would be lying if I said there's absolutely no kind of age difference for employers and what they're looking for, but for the most part, in my experience over the last 8 years, there isn't a huge correlation between who's getting jobs versus who's not getting jobs based on age or otherwise. It really is about you having the right skills, the ability to demonstrate those skills, a great portfolio to back it up. Because if you show up to an interview and you're able to say, look, here's what I can do, let me talk you through how I did this, that's, to an employer right now, that's like gold dust. They just need people that can do the work, and nothing speaks to that more than your portfolio. So for the most part, they're not going to care too much about your age. But nonetheless, Mike can talk about this a little bit, our career services will be with you every step along the way.
Yeah, I think just to kind of add to that, I think if the question is, should I learn a skill that's in demand or shouldn't I, regardless of my age, then the answer is always going to be yes. You're better off getting a skill that's in demand than not. A couple of points on that though. I think everything comes down to your personal situation and your own goals. So if you're learning to code and you might be like me. I'm not a fan of these ultra modern software companies with ping pong tables and all. I've gone into places seeing people with their walking around in flip-flops. It drives me mad. So I don't want to be in that environment personally. That's not me. So it's about finding the environment you want to be in. And if you might be somebody who wants to start a business, or you might be somebody who wants to run a business, or you might be somebody who wants to work in a flip-flop environment. I don't know. Wherever you want to go, you've got to be the person to identify, this is what I want to achieve, and that's the kind of thing. Not many people know what they want to do. So a lot of this is an investigation process. It's a matter of going out there, finding out where those opportunities are, and finding out what you're passionate about. The biggest thing that anybody buys into, whether you are selling a product or is passion. I'm going to just mute somebody. If everybody can mute themselves. Thanks, Yolandi. The biggest thing that anybody will buy into and that will start to engage conversations for you, like I say, whether you're running a business or whether you're looking for a job, is passion. So when you're thinking about coding, think about what you want to apply it to. Do you want to produce the latest app that's going to help people within a medical environment? Do you want to do work within the renewable energy environment? Or are you a motorsport enthusiast? I'm kind of talking about myself here. But whatever it is that you want to do, you've got to apply your passion to the new skills that you're learning. Age is becoming, you know, it used to be a bit of a barrier. It really isn't anymore. You know, like I say, that every business needs these skills in abundance. And to give you a kind of couple of examples of this, I know IBM have targets for diversity, so they want to bring in a range of people. We're doing work with the government at the moment whereby we have to have certain cohorts of students at certain ages. We also have gender targets. We also have, you know, ethnicity targets to hit as well, because there is a massive push for more experience and more people to come into it. And if you've got 20, 30 years of work experience behind you, you know, that's massively valuable as well. So it's also about being able to understand what skills you've learned along the way that you can now apply to your newly learned technical skills. So no, age isn't a barrier to people. It's usually a barrier for self-confidence.
Thank you, Mike. Jenny, should we answer another one?
Yeah, so a couple again that have been asked before, and I can see that Declan's also asked about better opportunities for remote coders and office-based. Obviously, we've seen, obviously with the current situation, we've had more people being asked to work remotely, working from home. Yeah, so what's the current prevalence of remote working in IT? Do you think the pandemic's going to accelerate this in a sustained way? And also, I think in terms of the pandemic, as we kind of head into a little bit of a recession, is now a good time to obviously change that career pathway, or should the uncertainty here act as a deterrent? Yeah, what do you sort of think?
Questions there. So I would say that coders have always been able to work from home, at least within most organisations. So, you know, that's why they've been largely unaffected at this time anyway. Whether that's going to become more prevalent, maybe, possibly, you know, as we now know that we can run our schedules and do everything that we need to do from home, I suppose this has been a huge way to prove that that can be done. So yes, I suspect more companies would be now even more open to having people working remotely. And in regards to your final question, is now a good time with such uncertainty with COVID? A recession on the way, is now the time to learn some of the most in-demand and highly paid skill sets in the world? Yeah, I'd say now's a good time. Mike, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I'm still on the last point as well, because I get quite animated about it. And, you know, I've just worked with so many people with disabilities and so many barriers. So, you know, and seen them lead successful careers. So, you know, please, you know, if you've got mental barriers around what your next job is, just ask. You know, come and speak to us, come and talk to us. You know, we can talk to you about it. You know, there's loads of groups out there, really good, supportive people in the industry. So when you start to reach out, you realise how much support there is actually out there. I sent an email over to Jenny, I think yesterday, noticing that Twitter have gone entirely remote working now.
Really?
That was an announcement yesterday. So yeah, I've got it up on the screen here. I'll share the link in chat. Yeah, the entire Twitter industry's gone remote working. The other piece about remote working is that that any CEO or leader of an organisation, they always have like emergency and contingency planning. And remote working, if it wasn't before, is now quite high on the agenda, as you can imagine. So the ability to work remotely should be within every organisation. Most organisations are the way, obviously, where you can't construction, but certainly for coding, it's in every organisation. The other key to that is that employers, again, coming back to the fact that employers are looking and trying to find skills in areas they probably wouldn't have looked before. So again, you know, more employers are becoming open to remote working with a way of attracting more people to their organisation. But if you want to be, I mean, you know, if we're talking remote working for an organisation, we're talking remote working freelance, I'd say if you're taking your first steps, trying to find employment within an organisation to gain experience is a really valuable move before you go freelance and try and work remotely. gaining experience from colleagues, I think is actually really valuable.
Brilliant. Jenny, let's answer one more, and then I'll talk about the course. But like I said, I will be answering all the questions at the end. We'll go through everything.
Cool. So for beginner coders, or people that obviously haven't kind of started learning yet, obviously how good at coding do they need to be to work in the industry, and what's the best set of coding languages that they need to learn to obviously get a coding job afterwards?
So that's quite an easy one, honestly. If you're looking to become a coder for the first time, the obvious place to start is in web development, for a number of reasons. That the coding languages that you need to learn are a little quicker. This will be things like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. They're also a little bit easier to learn, honestly. But more than that, it's in terms of getting into coding for the first time, half of all coding related jobs are in web development. So it's just a really smart place to get started, and it creates a stepping stone into lots of other industries. So if you later down the line decide I'm interested in getting into games development or data analysis or app development, whatever it might be, it opens up all of those doors that are hard to get into if you're going straight at those industries for the first time, for the first kind of career change. Whereas web development is, like I say, lots of jobs available, and a great place to get started, because what you're learning is just a little bit easier to get started at if you're new to coding. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so guys, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the course itself and how it works. The one that I generally recommend to people is called our Full Stack Web Development Program. And if you don't know what full stack means, that's okay. It basically means you're one person that is capable of building an entire modern website from scratch yourself. And this is an incredibly powerful combination of skill sets that you gain, because employers are always looking for ways to become more efficient. And well, it's historically the case that employers would hire a front-end developer, a back-end developer, and usually a couple of people in between. And you might be paying each of those people 30, 40, 50,000 pounds. Whereas if you could hire one full stack web developer that can do all of those things, which is possible now because the technologies necessary are not quite as hard to learn, not quite as time consuming. Well, as an employer, wouldn't you rather have one person building and maintaining your website for 50K and having 3 people at 30K, for instance? It just makes a lot of sense. So this particular program, it's all online. The way that it works is that you'll log in and log out as and when you need to. These are some really important parts, because you guys are going to be the ones deciding when and for how long you can study. There's a lot of structure around that. You can't just go weeks without doing anything, but I'll cover that. But most importantly, it's flexible. If you guys are working from home, if you guys are continuing to work part-time or even full-time, then you can still do this, basically. Now, the course itself, it sets out to achieve quite a lot. And I think one of the reasons why it's been so successful is because it's quite unique in that the course starts at a point where it assumes you know basically nothing about coding. However, the course ends up with you having everything that you could possibly need to pursue a career in coding. And that generally boils down to 3 quite specific things that you'll gain. 3 things that you've got to have. The first is that you've got to have the skills that employers are actually looking for. And I know that sounds just crazy obvious, but you'd be surprised how often today people are learning things that never stood a chance of getting them a job. And that for us was unacceptable when we were first looking at these things. Why teach something if they're not going to gain anything at the end of it? And the way that we wanted to achieve this, the way that we have achieved this, is that through the Code Institute, we have what's called the Industry Advisory Council. There are some large organizations that sit on this council, and big names like there's Netflix and Microsoft, Visa and PayPal. There's quite a few on there now, about 100 companies, all of which get together every 3 months to decide what you need to know right now to get your first job, basically, and emerging technologies and things like that. And then the course is updated every 3 months. So we're quite confident that what you're learning at any given time is exactly what you should be learning. It's not out of date, it's not the wrong version, it's in the course because employers are asking us to teach it. So that achieves the first of the three things that you're going to need to have, is the skills the employers actually need. Number two is a qualification. And I'd like to be quite clear around this. The qualification is not the most important thing in a career in tech these days. But it certainly helps. It certainly helps to get that initial recognition. It certainly helps our career guys to advise you. So what you gain from this when you finish is a diploma in software development, which is certified by the Code Institute and credit rated by the Edinburgh Napier University. And it's quite a high level qualification as well. It's equivalent to an HND level 5 or foundation degree on the EQF, the European Qualification Framework. So a really impressive level of qualification. And the only other thing that I would say about it is that quite popular among our students is that there is no exams for you to sit. The qualification is based purely on practical work. The projects that you build as part of your training will be assessed, and assuming they meet the required criteria, you gain the qualification. And actually what's quite good is that if for whatever reason your projects do not meet the required criteria, then we simply keep working with you to fix whatever may have been wrong and simply resubmit them. So there's nothing to stress out about. There's no exams to be trying to memorize questions or trick questions or anything like that. You simply keep learning until you've got it right. And finally, and most importantly, the third and final thing that you've got to have, and I can't stress the importance of this enough because I've seen how much difference it makes, the portfolio. Your portfolio is going to be the most important aspect of your career change because employers must see what you can do. And it's this way that they'll make a decision over whether or not to employ you. So across the course of the program, you will build 4 major projects and up to 7 minor projects, all of which have been designed to show off specific skill sets that we know employers are interested in seeing. So, for instance, you've learnt how to incorporate a PayPal payment system into your app or your website. Well, that's fantastic. Make that one of your projects, and then you can show that to an employer. And on top of all of this, because you're building all of these things yourself with your own 2 hands, and believe me, there's a huge amount of support, which I'll go into, but when you get in front of an employer, you're going to feel proud about what you've built. You're going to want to talk about it. You're going to want to show it off. And that is another attribute to employers that is something that gives them confidence in your abilities. When they say to you, wow, your websites look great. How'd you get them to do this or to look like that? Well, you can talk them through that because you did it yourself with your own 2 hands. And that, again, is the gold dust for employers right now. So that's the 3 things that you've absolutely got to have, all 3 of which you will gain from this course once complete. Now, to get into the finer details of the course and how it works, you guys are probably wondering, how exactly does it all work? How long does it take? Tuition fee, these sorts of things. So let me run through that stuff real quick. Look, in regards to how it all works, as I've mentioned, it's entirely online. We provide everything that you're going to need. When you first get enrolled, you'll have a call with our student care team who will show you around the platform, show you where to find everything, how to talk with the mentors and engage with other students and so on, and basically help you to make a really, really good start. And I'd say that the support is also one of the things that has led to this program's success, because there's a lot of it. So I would say, number one, you guys are going to Googling something almost every day. I don't know any coders that don't Google something every day and learn a little something new every day. After that, I have to give a shout out to our student community because it is absolutely fantastic. It fills me with pride every time I'm looking at the students and how they're interacting with each other, helping each other out, helping each other get jobs sometimes. So the way this works is on Slack forums. Some of you might know Slack, but we host our student platform on Slack. And best of all, we arrange our version of Slack to reflect the modules in the training itself. So, for instance, if you become stuck on module 3, section 2, whatever it might be, where you can go to that section in Slack, you can start writing your question. I can pretty much guarantee at this point, any questions you have been asked and answered before, and it will autofill. And you can read through the thread on how that particular problem was solved. And often multiple students get involved, multiple mentors and tutors will become involved on here. Often alumni and the previous students will be on there answering questions for people, which is great to see. And look, yeah, you can skip all the way to the end and find the answer to your problem, but I would advise everybody read through how that problem was solved, because, well, often that's where the best learning comes, is learning how a problem was solved.
And I'm just conscious of time because we've got loads of questions. It might be a nice time to lead on to look at Andrew's story.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share my screen with you guys, and I'll play Andrew's story, and then I'll finish up and answer the rest of the questions. One sec. I hope you guys can see that, yeah? Good stuff.
Hi, my name is Andrew Porritt. I did the full stack web developer course with the Learning People. Prior to the course, I was an operations manager for quite a large telecoms company, but I wasn't really happy with my role. So I decided to get myself upskilled so I could look for something a little bit more challenging, a little bit more fulfilling. The reason that I chose the Learning People out of all the different companies that offer this sort of service was because they seemed so honest when I was speaking to them on the phone. They didn't make any grand promises, and they were quite down to earth with what they told me I'd be able to get out of doing this. And best of all, wouldn't really let me commit to anything until I'd gone and trialled some sample courses to see if I had an aptitude for coding in the first place. It seemed a much more honest way of addressing these sort of things rather than getting the money up front. So the main challenges that I had were almost all time related. The reason being, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and I was working full time at the same time as taking the course. So what little time I got to spend with my family was very precious to me. There was an extra wrinkle of complexity in that I managed to get work in my chosen field before I'd even finished the course. It was any success that I have were almost entirely due to a very, very supportive wife and family. So, thanks to the skills that I picked up with the Learning People, I was in a position to be offered my dream job. Now I work with a company called And Digital as a associate product developer, and I've never looked back. It doesn't feel like I'm going to work anymore because I enjoy it so much. So, for advice to somebody considering this, as long as you're able to put in the hours and willing to put in the hours, then go for it. Managed to change my career and my life just based on a few months worth of graft. I've never looked back, and I am very excited for the future. I've had my first promotion already with And I'm always working towards my next one.
Awesome. So I just want to finish up what I was saying about the course, and then we'll move on to the Q&A. So the part I was got up to there is the support and how it works. So the student community, as I mentioned, is fantastic. And after that, you'll have the tutors that are, they're available for anything you might need. They're 24 hours a day. We need that because we have students globally, but it means that you can always talk with somebody about this part of the course that you're stuck on, or, am I doing this right? Is something wrong here? Or whatever it might be. And like I said, there's always that support there. And then on top of this, every single student will have scheduled sessions with their mentor. Your mentor will be an existing full stack web developer today who works with our students. We have many of them now all around the world, and they work with our students to make sure that the projects you build are industry standard. So that you know that you can take it to an employer and stand by it proudly that you have built this out. So the difference between the mentors and the tutors is that the tutors are there for general support. The mentors are there to help you build your project work, basically. Moving on from that, in terms of time frame, this is a big thing for a lot of people. There is 500 to 600 hours of training in the full stack web development program. Most of our students tend to do around 15, 20 hours a week, and on that basis finish in like 6 to 9 months. Because it is a university credit rated qualification, you have 12 months to complete it. So the minimum requirement would be around 10 to 15 hours. But like I say, at the moment, lots of people seem to have a bit more time to put more into it. And if you were to do it full time, which a lot of people are opting for right now, you'll have the course complete in about 3 or 4 months. Many of our students can get work before they finish the course as well, often about halfway through, because you'll have projects to show at that point, and we can start making the right movements. But career services will be best to kind of talk you through how that works. The tuition fee for this particular program is 6,295. That's £6,295. Some of you may have seen that we currently have a £1 million grant on during this COVID time, which basically means we are reducing the cost of the courses by £500. And that's going to be up until the end of June or until the £1 million runs out. So the tuition fee right now is actually 5,795. There's lots of great payment options that go with that. So I'd advise, if it's something you're thinking of doing, talk with myself or one of the other consultants that you may have engaged with before. So that's basically it from me. Believe me, I'm trying to keep it short and sweet, because I could waffle on all day. And actually what I'd like to do is just answer your guys' questions. So I think, Jenny, would you be okay to just fire all of the questions at me and Mike?
Yeah, sure.
Go.
Look. So just picking out a few that are sort of within the discussion. Got a question on the course, what programs are used? And also I think there's a couple of people asking about the specific languages and how many coding languages you'll get at the end.
Sure. So in regards to specific programs, it's kind of dealer's choice. So as part of the course, we often use Sublime Text. So you can use other things if you're talking about what you actually code on. But there's a few choices with that. It doesn't really matter as long as the end result is the same. And your mentor, the tutors, they can advise you on those things, just whatever works best for you. Sometimes it comes down to what you're using to code on as well, whether it's PC, Mac, or so on. In terms of the coding languages that you're going to pick up, for front end of the website, so all the things you see and interact with, front end is going to be HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. These are, you've got to have these things. There's no way you can become a web developer without knowing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The back end of a website is what can vary in terms of how it's developed, because we teach Python with a few other technologies surrounding that, but Python is the main coding language. And the reason for that is, well, it's quite obvious. So it was either Python or Ruby, and Python is simply better. It's easier to learn, it's quicker to learn. But Python is also used in lots of other industries. So it's incredibly popular in cybersecurity, robotics, manufacturing. There's so many different applications for Python. So it's just an obvious choice. It opens up more doors for you guys. And we are not teaching, sometimes this question comes up, why don't you teach PHP? A lot of websites use PHP. That's true, but it's usually legacy websites that have been around forever. So we don't generally teach PHP simply because any new projects that you'll be building, employers and clients will want you to be using Python, basically. So I hope that answers the question there. Next, Jen.
Great. I'm just scrolling through. There's been quite a few that we've had answered already.
Okay.
There's a couple on sort of specifics about using Slack, other resources. Just had one about the minimum specs for a PC that are required.
It's a great question, actually. So there isn't any specific system requirements. We've done away with all of that many, many years ago. I don't know if any of you have like tried learning before using like a CD-ROM and things like that. It's just not done that way anymore. It's all delivered through your web browser, so there's no system requirements necessary. I would say that having a laptop is useful because you can take it with you and learn anywhere, but it doesn't have to be done on a laptop. And I would also say that having two screens can make it easier. So if you're using a laptop, often plugging in a second screen so you can see your project and the code separately and the changes that are being made. It helps. It's absolutely not necessary, but it certainly helps. But specifically, there are no system requirements.
Cool. We've just had a really good question sent in. Where do we target this course? Is it great for beginners, advanced, expert? Asking us if someone has had a little bit of experience in programming, not all of the languages, a few of them we have obviously mentioned. Where do we see that?
I'd still say do this course full stack, because if you have some coding experience already, that's absolutely fantastic, and that will serve you guys really, really well. But part of what the course aims to achieve is all of the skills that employers are looking for. And I find there's often gaps, kind of blank areas. So I'd still advise the same course because it's good for beginners, absolutely. But if you already know some of that stuff, then you can breeze through that relatively quickly until you meet where your existing experience is. And again, by the end of it, you've got all of the skills that employers are looking for. So yes, I would still recommend the full stack course. And again, talk with one of the consultants about, other courses that might be more relevant if you have really specific requirements or ideas of specific directions that you might like to go. But generally, if you're looking, if you've had some coding experience, or if you haven't had coding experience, if you're looking for your first job as a coder, full stack is going to be what you want to do.
I thought I'd just jump in on that as well, Ben. Actually, you probably heard my chair squeak in anticipation. but yeah, I think it's just worth kind of talking about how. So with some of the government work that we're doing, we've got a group of students over in Devon who are studying. They're on a course over there, a data science course, and they've come in with experience and are flying through that course. And then we've got groups of students who are completely and utterly new to industry altogether. And it really just depends on you. We talk about a couple of our students, lots of our kind of alumni we keep in touch with, and you see students who go through the course and actually get a job halfway through the course or a third of the way through the course. So it's definitely possible to land a career before you've actually completed the course. And I think that if you've got some experience, the likelihood is that you'll simply get through it quicker, which is great. But again, it's about working with you and as an individual to understand what are your goals and what do you want to kind of achieve through it. So from a career services point of view, sometimes we try and take people away from being on job boards and kind of spending their time worrying about CVs and things like that to actually engaging with industry and talking to employers and getting involved with stuff like that. That could be a more useful piece for you to be doing rather than kind of doing some of the coursework at times. So everything is designed to be flexible and everything is designed for people to access it from every level. I kind of think I'm not sure. I missed the first couple of minutes, but I don't think I'm covering anything off here. Learning People was founded by somebody who we all believe in very much, a guy called Patrick Aylmer, who's our CEO and our founder. And he comes from a small town in Australia where there was very little opportunity, and so for him, this business was founded with the basis of being able to provide anybody with the skills and education that they need to be able to lead a successful career. And we focused on the tech industry because that is where the skills gaps are. So everything that we do is focused on enabling absolutely anybody to be able to achieve the career they want, regardless of kind of what level you're at and what stage you're at in the process. But I think, if you've got some experience previously, great, it might help. But I've also, seen it where it goes against people. They're saying, hang on a minute, I did this at uni, 8 years ago and everything's completely changed. That's one of the big values and the big things that employers are looking for is people that can adapt and that can learn new things. So, if you've got some experience and actually this is going to be completely different and new for you, that's a big tick on your CV. It shows that you can learn new technologies and be agile with what's going on out there. So yeah, just thought I'd chuck that in as well, mate.
Oh no, it's great. Thank you, Mike. Jenny, do you have the next question for us?
There's a couple of questions. I know you've obviously spoken about the support that you get during obviously the course. Is there any kind of support after completing the course?
Yeah, Mike, Career Services will stay on with people, right?
So our aim is obviously to get people where they want to get to, and I think having that conversation, the way that we phase Career Services, the 3 phases start at 30 days. So if you're considering that this course is going to be a 12-month course for you, again, some will do it in 6, some will do it in 9, some might take a little bit longer. But you'll start your career service at 30 days. So we'll be with you from there. I mean, we just haven't seen the need to carry it on career services. Most of the students that we're working with have all achieved the jobs that they want to. Like I said, the skills are needed, and if you can just refine your approach to how you engage with employers and how you search for jobs, it can become a lot easier. And I don't want to make it sound like it's simple, because it's not. All of you who are considering this undertaking, especially if you're changing careers, there's lots to learn. And there'll be times where it's frustrating, and I think, one of the joys of being a coder is being able to live with the frustration and then revel in the joy when you find out that you had a semicolon in the wrong place or whatever. But I think, what you'll also find is that, people start to kind of build up an understanding of what's going on there. And I think this is all about building your confidence, and it's about helping you build your network. So, it's all good. You've got us on side, but ultimately, I'd rather you had 50 other coders who are out there in the industry giving you advice, and you're part of a network and part of these groups where people are sharing ideas and sharing jobs. Like I say, some of you will want to be freelance, some of you will want to work for yourselves, some of you will want to go and work for Facebook and Google and those guys, and some of you just want to be better at whatever it is you're doing. We saw somebody come in from the fire service who just wanted to make sure that they could code a program which sent all of the information about a building structure and where the weak points were to the fire engine, so that when they turn up a fire, they can go, I'm not going in that door because that's where it's most likely to collapse. So we see kind of all kinds of different stuff happening, and it's really about working with you as individuals, and that's kind of the joy of it. So yes, we work with students, we continue to work with them, keep in touch with them. Like I say, I've got a very large LinkedIn base that keeps growing, but also we've got loads of students who get involved as well. You'll find that you'll get support from ex-students who are out there as well. So don't just look at us for support. We are here, but also build your network in industry. Find the companies, the people you want to talk to. Find the ex-students. Speak to each other. It's a big community. We enrolled 4,000 students last year. And we're growing. It's a big community out there for you to kind of get involved with and who will help you.
Can I just jump in there, Mike?
Yes.
There's a few people on the chat relating to the semicolon issue. I mean, I've been there many a time.
I can see that. Yeah, I was just about to do that myself.
Yeah, but I think it also it might allude to the soft skills collection that we've launched as well. I think there's obviously a perception of coders, because I do a lot of freelance coders as well. They're coding as well. I'm head of marketing. And that was my way into marketing. And you either get pigeonholed an introvert or an extrovert, and having those soft skills as a coder is crucial, but it's still probably better to talk about that, Mike.
Yeah, sure. So we've so part of one of the things that came out from our industry advisory board and talking to lots of big employers was, and I would research it. Like I say, you don't have to take what I say for golden every time. Like, feel free to research everything that we're saying. Is that soft skills? And when we talk about soft skills, we're talking about behavioural skills, not kind of hard skills. If I was to say to you, can you code this piece for us? There is a test that you can do which demonstrates how quickly you got there, what method you took to get there, and I can assess that. Soft skills are something that are much harder to test, but they're things like resolve. So are you a coder that's going to give up when you can't find a semicolon, or are you a coder that's going to keep trying, know when I need to walk away from the device and go and walk the dog or something and come back to it, or so this soft skills piece is really important. And we've built 3 tracks which are available, which are based on an individual circumstance. So either if you're new to getting into the industry and you want to build your career, they're the soft skills that employers are looking for that. If you want to start a business and be a freelancer, then soft skills come much more around things like time management and risk assessment and things like that. And then we've also got one which is much more about managing your emotional state, which I think is so important these days. I think one of the pitfalls of everything moving online is that we do spend more time in front of a computer, and you know, one of the things around remote working that we really try and support is engagement with each other, making sure that we're talking to each other. And I think sometimes when you are having a hard times, and like, believe us, we all go through difficult times. It's how do we manage that? How do we manage that process, and accept things or develop ourselves? So yeah, we've built some courses that kind of go inside that a lot of our ex-students are doing. And they're finding that they're using these courses once they've got the job as well. So we've got a couple of examples of students who've done the coding course, got the job, and then they're saying, do you know what, I'm being really well regarded here, things are going well, I want to progress quickly, I want to earn more money, is usually the reason why they want to progress quickly. It's usually money related. And therefore they're taking these soft skills to add it to their CV, but also to be able to manage their managers better and to be able to negotiate better, so that they fit in really well there. I think we're all very aware that, you know, being out there at the moment, being in the job market, isn't just about having the technical skills. The technical skills get you through the door, but how you progress and how you move forwards after that is where the soft skills are. And I can't believe we've got 1 minute left. That's ridiculous, isn't it? You know?
Will it literally cut us off in 1 minute?
Yeah, I knew I could chat all day. I'll keep this open. We'll move to house party later on, everybody.
How are we going to continue answering all of these questions?
Well, you said you'd do it, mate. So that's on you, Ben.
Ben, do you want to share your email address so people can contact you?
Yeah, I think that'll probably be best. Let me do that real quick.
Yeah.
So everybody there, that's my email address. Some of you have it already. Some of you have spoken with me before. At the very least, some of you would have made contact with us and probably spoken with a career consultant, or a career consultant tried to reach out to you. So you should have details from us somewhere in your inbox. But yeah, please feel free to email me directly, and either myself or one of our consultants will be in touch to answer any additional questions that you might have. Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time, and it's been a pleasure.
I'll just add to that as well, Ben, that the career service. Sorry, Chima, are you all right to just jump on mute very, very quickly and let me say my lot, and then I'll shut up, I promise. But the career service is a service that's exclusively for our students, just so that we can obviously make sure that we spend enough time with people and we manage that properly. However, you know, this is I believe the first coding webinar that we've launched, and so if people are on here and they do want to connect to us, you know, just let Ben know, and I'm sure we can organise to have a conversation. You know, if you've got some specific concerns around your career, around your personal circumstance, then I'd be happy to pick that up with you guys. So let me know.
Great. It's also great to see that we had, I think, almost 100 people join as well. Again, I think another testament to the demand right now. So yeah, again, thank you for joining everybody, and hopefully we'll speak to you all soon.
Stay safe, everyone. Thanks.